put my hand up to block it, but it came around, hit me. One of those things where a man threw a terrific punch, which my chin happened to be in the way of.
Where's the contract, Roy? I'm ready.
Okay, I ain't gonna say nothing, but this is mine.
They came in as favorites, champions, unbeatable, untouchable. But boxing doesn't care about odds. It only takes one mistake. One punch, one moment to lose everything. This is boxing's most shocking upsets. Welcome back to Fight Story.
This is a brutal sport. I'm not going to spoon feed you till World Championship level. I need to find out how good you are if I'm going to stick all my money in and take you all the way to the top.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because when I started working out, I was like throwing punches. Then I found myself going, so I had to take 2 steps back, and I'm like, oh no, don't tell me this fight's gonna be one of those fights where I have to take my time.
Lennox Lewis was untouchable, undisputed champion, the king of the division. The WBC, IBF, and IBO titles around his waist and odds of -2,000. This wasn't supposed to be a fight. It was supposed to be a stay-busy assignment. At +900, Hasim Rahman wasn't buying into the script. The challenger came in prepared, early to altitude, locked in, no distractions. Meanwhile, Lewis spent part of his training camp filming a cameo in Ocean's 11 back in Vegas. Confidence or complacency, it didn't matter, because when the bell rang, Rahman was ready. Early on, Lewis controlled the action behind his jab, picking off rounds with ease. But Rahman never stopped pressing, never stopped believing.
Right hand, left couple of rounds could be significant. Rahman's got this big target, the chest of Lennox. Round 4 begins with a...
In round 5, it happened. Lewis dropped his left hand. Rahman timed it. A single right hand detonated on Lewis's chin and sent the champion sprawling. No count was needed. Just like that, everything changed. One punch. One of the biggest upsets in heavyweight history.
The punch that actually hit me, I actually thought I was gonna block it, but it came around this side. I put my hand up to block it, but it came around, hit me. One of those things where a man threw a terrific punch, which my chin happened to be in the way of.
You want to be in this game, you've got to prove you're good enough to be on these cards and at this level. Marc Castro has had 4 10-round championship fights. That was his 5th 10-round championship fight.
Marc Castro was another rising talent. Undefeated at 13-0, backed by Eddie Hearn's Matchroom, and touted as one of America's next big stars. At -950, this wasn't supposed to be a test. It was supposed to be a showcase. But Agustin Quintana had other plans. The Argentinian came in as a +500 underdog with no buzz, no hype, just belief. And when the bell rang, he didn't flinch. The early rounds went to Castro. He came forward with volume, pressing Quintana, smothering him with punches, but the momentum didn't last.
Now Castro really bringing the heat here in the 3rd round.
By round 3, Quintana found his timing. He slipped inside, dug to the body, and cracked Castro with counters over the top. By the middle rounds, the fight had flipped. Quintana took center ring. He walked Castro down, landed clean hooks, and forced the younger fighter onto his back foot.
Big left hook again from Quintana. Winds up with that one.
The crowd felt it. This wasn't going the way it was supposed to. Castro fought back, but he was reacting, not dictating.
Expending so much, I think, useless.
By the final bell, the upset was clear. Marc Castro's undefeated streak was gone, and Agustin Quintana, the overlooked outsider, had just rewritten the script.
You want me to keep it real with you? Marc Castro, you were not good enough tonight. If you perform like that, you are not going to be a world champion or reach that level.
I don't even think you're the best fighter in Florida, and I'm out to prove that. Okay. How much do I have to go through? Who do I have to beat in order for me to get my opportunity at history?
Antonio Tarver interrupted the press conference. He said, Roy Jones, you've been ducking me, you've been running. He's going on and on and on. Roy looks at Tarver and gives him the attention that he's been after.
All right. Where's the contract, Roy? I'm ready.
Okay, I ain't gonna say nothing, but his ass is mine. Before I retire, if they don't fight one more person in the world, his ass mine. Don't y'all think I'm letting him off?
Roy Jones Jr. was the icon, a 4-division world champion, the reigning king at light heavyweight, and widely regarded as the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. He had edged Antonio Tarver in their first bout, a majority decision that raised eyebrows but kept his aura intact.
I won this fight, and all I needed was an opportunity against the best fighter that you all say pound for pound the best, so I showed tonight where I measure up.
Now in the rematch, Jones was expected to remind everyone why he was untouchable. At minus 550, the bookmakers weren't asking questions, but Antonio Tarver was. The plus 400 underdog walked in with unfinished business. He didn't want a decision, he wanted a statement. When the referee asked the fighters if they had any questions, Tarver famously responded with this.
I got a question. You got any excuses tonight, Roy? Let's not ask questions like that. Let's go to work. Let's go to work.
The opening round was tense. Both men measured distance, probing with jabs, trading respect more than leather. Then came round two. Midway through the round, Tarver stepped in and uncorked a looping overhand left. A crash flush into Jones's jaw. The pound-for-pound king dropped hard. The fight was over in an instant. Antonio Tarver didn't just win. He knocked out Roy Jones Jr. cold and shattered the myth of invincibility in under 2 rounds. It wasn't just a win. It was a moment that changed the course of boxing history.
Because for so long, people say I couldn't, people say I wouldn't, but I never gave up on my dreams. I never gave up on myself. I knew that Antonio Tarver was the best fighter in the whole wide world. Pound for pound, baby. Pound for pound.
First of all, Buatsi, he hasn't learned how to lose. You got to factor that in. Especially down the stretch. You got to factor that in. Guy ain't giving up that 0 so easy.
Joshua Buatsi came in as the favorite at minus 205, undefeated, confident, and carrying the WBO interim title. He was younger, faster, and expected to break through to world level. But Callum Smith had other plans. The former world champion had heard the predictions before. At plus 165, he was the underdog on paper. But in the ring, experience, poise, and timing started to tell a different story. Buatsi opened aggressively, pushing the pace, letting his hands go.
Able to get those hooks out. Left hook from Buatsi. Good work from Buatsi, starting low, finishing high, but good work with that lead hand. Say 2 last year, but we all feel there's more to come on. There's a shot landed by Buatsi.
Smith absorbed it, stayed composed, and went to work, countering clean, landing to the body, and gradually slowing the younger man down.
Oh, there's that left hook as he threw the... He hooks onto the right uppercut.
By the middle rounds, the fight was shifting. Buatsi's early fire faded, while Smith's rhythm sharpened. He controlled distance, picked his shots, and answered every burst with something meaner.
Just a little lazy with that lead hand. Joshua Buatsi, but again nothing. Oh, big right hand. Oh, and again.
By the end of 12 rounds, there was no controversy. Callum Smith had taken over, round by round, moment by moment. He walked away with the win and the belt. Joshua Buatsi tasted defeat for the first time, and Callum Smith reminded the world, class never fades.
Yeah, the plan all week in my own head, I remember saying, when I get in, get the job done, win, get out, have some pizza and sit and enjoy an amazing show, and it didn't quite go to plan. I got took straight to hospital.
Michael, you were always totally convinced this was going to be your night. Nobody agreed with you, the bookies didn't agree with you, the experts didn't agree with you. What gave you that conviction?
Audley Harrison was supposed to be rebuilding. The Olympic gold medalist had promised this was the beginning of his real run, his redemption arc. He was taller, slicker, and seen as the clear favorite. A minus 300 pick to win against a man most viewed as past his best. Michael Sprott, the underdog at plus 225, had no such illusions. He wasn't there to play a part in Harrison's comeback. From the opening bell, Harrison kept it tidy. He circled, flicked his jab, controlled the range like a man coasting toward a routine win.
Danny Williams with the left uppercut, and he's certainly trying to tee that one off. Good right hand again in 2001. He's had good wins as well.
But in the third round, Sprott found the answer. A looping left hook, thrown with timing, not speed, cracked Harrison flush on the chin. And just like that, the Olympic dream was flat on its back. Harrison didn't beat the count. The O2 arena sat stunned. It was one of those nights where boxing reminded the world, hype is temporary, but timing is lethal.
I mean, anyone who's put money in the bookies, enjoy.
Including you, I think you had a little touch on yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, I did do a touch on myself, and I'm looking forward to collecting that tomorrow.
I always bring the excitement, I always bring the to every fight, and I'll bring it to this one as well.
Robbie Davies Jr. was the hometown favorite. Fighting in Liverpool, backed by the crowd and the odds makers, he entered the ring as a strong -450 favorite. This was supposed to be another step toward contention, another box to tick. But Darragh Foley came to crash the party. The Irish southpaw, listed at +333, was given little chance by the bookies. But he came in calm, focused, and unfazed by the noise. Early on, Davies Jr. looked in control. Sharp jab, clean right hands, setting the rhythm.
Took the sting out of the shot. Foley leaning back. That was a
lovely straight right down the middle. And that unlocked Foley's appearance in the UK for Darragh.
But in the final seconds of the second round, it all unraveled. Foley landed a short right that dropped Davies Jr. hard.
To get his right foot outside the left foot of Robbie Davies Jr.
When the third began, Davies tried to fight on, but his leg betrayed him. As he hit the canvas, his right ankle twisted underneath him, badly. The crowd was stunned. Foley raised his arms, and the heavy underdog walked away with the biggest win of his career.
And Darragh Foley has scored a sensational success.
Jalil Hackett, one of our young American stars, who I've got to say, just doesn't care. He just wants smoke at 147 pounds.
Jalil Hackett was the American prospect Eddie Hearn had high hopes for. Young, explosive, and undefeated at 9-0, he entered the ring with power in both hands and a clear path to contention. At -2,000, the bookmakers weren't asking if he'd win, only how soon. Jose Roman was supposed to be the formality, a +1,180 underdog, older, slower, fighting in front of his home crowd in Puerto Rico.
2025, yeah, we looking at a world title. We even got world champions calling me out. Only got 9 fights, you know. Brian Norman said he wanted to smoke.
But from the opening bell, he flipped the script. Hackett came out sharp, jabbing, digging to the body, setting the tempo.
Both elbows, actually, but especially the round.
There he goes, in round number 4.
Man, you can see that Hackett has
there's a chin turner.
But Roman never blinked. By the middle rounds, he was slipping shots, countering clean, and making the favorite look ordinary.
At the very beginning, how you were intrigued about
this is a fight where you can easily give Rahman at least 3 rounds, 4 rounds, who knows?
Then came the split decision. 2 judges for Roman, 1 for Hackett. Just like that, the upset was official. Jalil Hackett's undefeated streak was gone, and Eddie Hearn's rising star had just been eclipsed by a veteran no one expected.
Jalil Hackett fought a guy who is 10-1 from Puerto Rico, very limited. Again, Jalil Hackett was 8 or 9 to 1 on to win that fight. Jalil Hackett himself at the weight. That's what he did. You saw it, right? Everybody saw it in the hotel. And that is a lack of professionalism that's going to cost you victory.
It's exciting times in this heavyweight to be.
Oh, goodness me! Well, there is and Price is in real trouble. He's on.
David Price was still chasing redemption. Once seen as the future of British heavyweight boxing, he was now fighting to rebuild, again. At -250, the bookmakers still favored him. He had the size, the power, the pedigree. What he didn't have was certainty. Christian Hammer, the +200 underdog, had been brought in to lose. Tough but beatable. A test, not a threat. But Hammer had other plans. Early on, Price looked sharp. He used his massive frame to control distance, picking off Hammer with the jab and setting up his right hand.
Karaciğer denemesi var. Sağ kroşe. Aparkat geliyor sağ kroşe.
In the 5th, it looked like the momentum had swung in his favor. A big uppercut caught Hammer clean and sent him to the canvas. But Hammer got up and then slowly started walking Price down.
Arka arkaya aynı şekilde geliyor. Köşeye sıkıştı David Price.
By the 6th, the cracks showed. Price's breathing grew heavy. His feet slowed. Hammer smelled blood. In the 7th, it all unraveled. Hammer pinned Price against the ropes and unloaded. Price, exhausted and defenseless, could barely lift his arms. The referee stepped in. TKO. Another setback. Another promise broken. Christian Hammer, the man who was meant to fall, had just flipped the script.
Londra'da inanılmaz bir galibiyet elde ediyor ve çok büyük mutluluk yaşıyor.
Vladimir Klitschko was the undefeated prodigy, 24-0, an Olympic gold medalist, a rising star with speed, power, and polish. This was supposed to be a coronation, his first pro fight in Ukraine, with thousands in Kiev there to witness the future. The odds told the story, -2,000 for Klitschko. This wasn't just a win in the making. It was meant to be a statement. Ross Purity wasn't reading the script. A +900 underdog with 13 losses on his record. He was the definition of a journeyman. Durable, overlooked, and dangerous when ignored. From the opening bell, Klitschko boxed beautifully. Jabs, combinations, footwork. He controlled every round. He threw everything at Purity, but Purity never went away.
Schön die Rechte. Klasse. Ross Purity. Einmal kurz in den Knien eingeknickt.
Round after round, the pace caught up to Klitschko. The flurries slowed, the footwork faded, and Purity, still there. Still throwing, still pressing.
Läuft immer genau in die Rechte und jetzt kommt hinterher. Ross Purity.
By the 10th, Klitschko was gassed. He hit the canvas twice. One ruled a slip, the other a clean knockdown.
20 Sekunden dieser 10. Runde. Er ist fertig, er ist mitgenommen. Er wirkt wackelig. Vladimir Klitschko ist am Boden.
And in the 11th, with Klitschko on the ropes, absorbing punishment, his corner had seen enough. Trainer Fritz Stunek stepped in and stopped the fight. The silence in Kiev said it all. Ross Purity didn't just beat Vladimir Klitschko, he handed him his first loss, in front of his home crowd, in the fight that was supposed to be his arrival.
Das offizielle Urteil also Sieger durch technischen K.O. Ross Purity, ein großer Sieg.
So it's Holmes, unquestionably the king of the heavyweights, but the IBF world champion against Spinks, the undisputed world light heavyweight champion.
I'm 35 years old fighting young men, and he was 25 years old fighting old men. I can easily put him down. I mean, if you really want to get technical about the whole thing, Rocky couldn't carry my jockstrap.
Larry Holmes was chasing history. At 48-0, the reigning heavyweight champion stood one win away from tying Rocky Marciano's legendary 49-0 record. He'd ruled the division for nearly a decade, dominant, durable, and widely respected. The odds were in his favor at -400, and few believed the man across from him could change that. Michael Spinks wasn't just moving up in weight, he was jumping into the fire. The reigning light heavyweight champion, undefeated, but no one had ever come up from 175 and taken the heavyweight crown. He was the +300 underdog, undersized and unproven at this level. But from the opening bell, Spinks didn't flinch. He brought movement, rhythm, a strange tempo Holmes couldn't settle into. He darted in and out, switched angles, scored with flurries, not hurting Holmes, but outworking him.
Spinks, the aggressor. Combinations by Michael Spinks. He's not intimidating Spinks, and it's absolutely not working.
Holmes struggled to find his usual timing. He landed clean shots, but not enough. He pressed, but Spinks made him miss. It wasn't domination, it was disruption. And over 15 rounds, it worked.
Holmes stalks him, that right. Both men just fighting on courage here. There was a right hand by Larry Holmes and a good one. And another good right hand by Holmes, but Spinks is right there. Time, this one is over. Listen to the crowd.
The judges scored it unanimously for Spinks. He'd done what no light heavyweight had ever done. Moved up, beat the champion, and stopped Holmes just short of the record books. It wasn't just an upset, it was a rewrite of history.
It was a lot of fun to beat Larry because Larry had beat my brother Leon, and so I really had it in for him when I got in the ring with him, so I enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun, because Larry, he was a bully. But the thing was, I used to box a lot of heavyweights in Joe Frazier's gym.